The purpose of our chat is just as I was mentioning before, is to have an opportunity to get to know partial load people and partial load experiences, especially in this climate. And have that opportunity to get to know each other and share with others what it means to live as a partial load faculty. So I just wanted to start any of the experiences that comes to mind to you, positive, negative, whatever you wish to share, how it is to work and to live as partial load at Seneca.
I just anything?
Well, I have a specific ones, so specific questions in
Sure.
terms of colleagues or with the students, or how it impact your family or your family life, or how students.
I just give you a little background. I own a machine shop, so I have my own business, and I have almost as long as I've been teaching. So I went to Seneca College in 1996, graduated, worked, started my own company, and after the recession and the provincial government put a whole bunch of money in to get students back, or people back to school, to get back to work, they basically doubled their class size, and I was contacted to come teach. That's how I started with it. So I never started out to become a teacher, but I quite enjoy it. So I've been doing that for 15 years. So running my business and teaching partial load at the same time. When I first started it, I thought, well, it'd be a nice way to finish off my career as maybe the last 10 years before retirement, finish teaching full time. But as you know, that's for a lot of partial load teachers, that's not an option. So now I'm just doing the same thing, running my business and partial load teacher at the same time, which I quite like. It's a lot of work, but I would prefer to some point go full time. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I see. And do you have any experiences with applying for full-time job positions or things like that?
No, there's been only, they've been contracting the department basically since I started. So more people have been retired than hired. And so while I've been partial load, Gord was the first full-time hire. And then there was another full-time hire. And at that point, that was fairly early on. I wasn't interested in going full-time. But since that, there hasn't been a full-time person hired for the department that I teach for.
I see. And how do you manage the balance between home and work and teaching? And I see. And at the school, how do you find the dynamics with the students if they know your partial load versus with other teachers or with your colleagues if they know your partial load?
Well, for the students, I've always had a really good relationship with the students because the main reason, I think, is because I am partial loader contract. They know that I work in the industry full time, so I'm up to date on all the information, and they know that I'm a relevant source of that. So I find the respect level is usually quite high. They don't consider the partial load a detriment. Colleagues, I don't feel like I'm treated differently. But you're definitely not on the same level, so to speak. I don't know how to really articulate that, but I've always been treated well by the colleagues, so no, not really any different. Our department that I work in has treated partial load employees extremely poorly over the years. Now there's a new chair. It seems to be improving, but at the time, there's zero information intake, no contact from the union, no contact really from the college. I was hired. I was told you'll be getting a contract. Sometimes it takes a month. And this is so I started off with a very anti-union vibe because of this. And so they calculated my step at about half of what it should have been. So I was underpaid for about the first 7 years. 6 years I was there. And I didn't find out that I was being underpaid until another colleague of mine from Sheridan College told me that, no, you should be making about $40 an hour more. And actually
There.
was the one who helped me with that, get my step recalculated. But basically over those years, they shorted me by about $30,000. So I actually went to the union and told them what happened. And basically their response to me was, well, we can go and fight this, but if we do, you'll never get another contract again with Seneca College. So that's always in the back of my mind, and you always have that threat over you. You know what I mean? Even though it's not directly articulated to you. It's just, for me personally, that's always been there since the start because I feel like tricked. The same thing, I don't have benefits because when they introduced benefits to us, we were never told that you have to sign up for them in order to but you had to fill out a form or something like that. They said, oh, we're going to have benefits now. And then when I went to go use them, they say, oh, you didn't sign up within the year, so you don't get them. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do about that? And at the time, again, uni rep said, well, the only thing you can do is I'd not take a contract for 8 months and then come back as a new hire. And so it's just all of these small things, they add up to you. Oh, I always kind of feel like you're not really, but you're always fighting for more. You know what I mean? Fighting for
Yeah, I
what? Not
see.
even more. Fighting for what you've been promised, guy.
In that same situation, actually, I don't have benefits because I didn't sign the thing, and they're
I
asking
know,
me,
because when they came in, they didn't tell you to, right? And
yeah,
it's ridiculous. So they're saying, both the union saying, oh, we've got you benefits. Well, no, you didn't, because I can't sign up for them. It's the stupidest thing. If this
yeah,
was a regular corporate job, if you should
like
get
that.
benefits,
Yeah.
you get benefits, right?
But your story is very interesting. A lot of the points that you're mentioning,
And I'm not the only one who has this story with our department.
I see. So I guess we won't include anything about the story how when you started, that
Yes,
it was a disaster at the beginning. We want,
the chair at the time, his biggest boast was that he would always come in under budget. And I don't know when you started, but anyone who started around the time that the benefits were introduced don't have them.
I started 2016. So
Okay, so you would have been, I think the benefits came in around 2009, I think. Or sorry, at
yeah,
2014, 15, something like that.
I got an email and then I missed that email. And then that was it. So I'm condemned. I'm on them.
I know, and it's ridiculous. Like that. So that you can definitely include this. I do teach at Seneca. I don't even know where you teach.
Yeah. No, I do teach at Seneca for the last 10 years. Both campus New and Antioch.
Right. So halfway through your contract, every year you get an email saying your email's about to be terminated in 12 months.
Yes.
Every
How does that make? How does that make you?
I know, and that's every single contract. Halfway through, they tell you that you may or may not get another contract. So I have zero loyalty to Seneca College. Even though I went there, I've taught there for a long time, I built a lot of the program. I have zero loyalty because they have zero loyalty to us, right? Well,
Yeah.
when it's across the colleges is like my biggest complaint is, so I've been told more background. I've been in the industry I teach, and I've been in for over 25 years. I'm a business owner, I'm very experienced. I've created, I would say, probably close to a third of the curriculum that's being taught in the program now. I've been paid for it. I used to do it for free. I don't anymore. And they've told me that I will never be hired full-time because I don't have a degree. I have all my professional qualifications because they want to hire people with a minimum of a master's.
So wired. I see. But where are they hiring you now then? Why are
But
you?
that's why I say, so I'm capable of creating curriculum and teaching students now, but not full-time. So it makes no sense to me, and makes no sense to a lot of people who teach in this. So I teach in the mechanical program. So we're hands-on stuff. I teach in a machine shop. Sure, we work on computers and that, but people who are qualified to teach that, most of them do not have a master's degree. So,
I see.
and that's we have building trades at Seneca, flight attendant program. The people who are the most qualified to teach those probably do not have master's degree.
That kind of requirement is not the realistic and optimal or ideal, at least. Like,
Or fair, to be honest.
I see.
Because if you're qualified to teach and create curriculum as a partial load, you should be the same as a full-time employee.
And that's something you're comfortable sharing. And,
Oh, for sure.
Great.
The chair says, I'd love to hire you full-time, but you have to go back to university. Well, I'm 53 years old, and I have a family, and like I said, I'm already working 2 jobs. I have no desire to go back to university and get a master's degree. It's just something that's not in the cards for me.
I see.
And in my opinion, it wouldn't add to my skills as a teacher because they don't want me to get one in education. They want me to get one in manufacturing engineering.
So it has to be specific to what you.
That's what they've asked for.
And they wouldn't pay for it.
No,
What would
no,
they pay?
no.
I see.
So I know I sound like I'm complaining a lot, and I do have a lot of complaints, but the teaching experience I find very rewarding. And like I said, I like colleagues, I get along with great. The facility's great, and even the support staff, I am treated exactly the same as everyone else. And even now, the management treats me well, but there's all sort of the underlying problems that don't make it a completely satisfying job.
I see. Could you say that the broader culture of the college and the
Yeah.
administration and the principles, the way how it's run, the goals, the broader culture?
In our department that teach at multiple colleges because they're full-time teachers. So they'll get contracts at 2 or 3 colleges and they spend most of their time driving between classes, right? And I remember hearing a complaint about one of these teachers that, oh, they're not very loyal. And I'm like, well, why would they be? They have no reason to be loyal because they need to make a living, so they have to get contracts wherever they can. So if you're not going to give them a contract that works, then they'll go somewhere else.
What?
Well, the system used to be that, and all when I went to Seneca, I think almost all of my professors followed this route, is you would get hired as part-time, then you'd get hired as partial load, and then after whatever 3, 4, 5 years, if you were interested in becoming full-time, then they would either hire you full-time or put you on sessional, because if you went sessional for 2 sessions, they have to hire you full-time anyway. And
Yes,
that was
right.
the path for all of my instructors that taught me. That's the way they became full-time employees, as opposed to this now where whatever 15, 16, 17 years later, you're still partial load, right?
I see. So ideally, there should be a path. Then
Yeah,
that's
I think well, successful companies they have a friend who works at Johnson & Johnson, and they have a policy that you have to move every 5 years. You have to move up. If you don't move up every 5 years, then you're considered stale, right? So why wouldn't, someone, an organization that's educational, why wouldn't you want people improving and investing in their career and in the college, right? It makes sense to me. And obviously it's strictly an economic reason why they do it, because all the colleges and all the universities do it.
I think you put it very nicely because I relate to that too. The idea that with the students and even with some colleagues, is enjoyable in some sense. You feel respected, but the general climate on the main approach to how we're being treated, it makes me feel at least as if it's not important and you're just being used. Does this sound familiar to you?
Well, the thing, like I mentioned earlier, I'm currently in industry. I'm using the latest and the greatest technology that's available in our industry for profit. And I have colleagues who I like very much and respect, who haven't been in industry for 20 or 30 years, who are asking me for the information that keep them updated. So it goes back to that thing, well, I'm important to the college on an educational level, just not in terms of whatever their corporate structure.
I
Because if
see.
all the partial load people left tomorrow, there'd be no the universities or colleges.
I see. So to a certain extent, you're even meant them older teachers at the college or other calls. So you're doing that too.
Recently, over 5 years ago, they were coming to me saying, well, what software should we be teaching? This is the chair of the program. And it's like, well, if you need me to direct and give you if you're taking my advice on what should be taught in the whole entire program, then is that not valuable to you? Right?
Yeah.
So it is in terms of knowledge, but not in terms of, like I said, so it's almost like a respect thing, the respect of being a full-time employee.
In your family life or your day life, I don't know, how do they ask you about teaching at, are they happy you're teaching at Seneca? Is this,
Well, like I said, the reason I've continued and the reason I enjoy it is it came up through an apprenticeship program. That's the way the industry works. So I had a lot of great mentors for me. And then before I started my own business, when I had moved up a little bit, I was the person teaching apprentices as well. So I've always enjoyed the training aspect of it. And when I started my own business, it's sometimes been just myself, sometimes 1 or 2 employees. So the teaching fills that need to help and train the next generation. So my family, my kids, my wife, I've taken them to school. They think it's neat that I do that. I get it. My family respects it quite a bit. But they feel this, they think it's hilarious that you can't be a full-time employee, but you can do all the teaching. I teach more courses than anyone else in the entire program.
I see,
I've taught a total of, I think, something like 22 different courses.
well, have you had conversations with management or
Yeah,
chairs about this?
they say it started back when they were doing the last hire. The chair at the time said, I cannot hire you. He goes, I'd like to hire you. I'd like to have you on board, but I cannot hire you unless you go back to school. And I said to him, I said, well, you know what? If you guarantee me that in writing, I will go back to school and you can hire me when I graduate. And they wouldn't do that. So,
See,
yeah, so there's been conversations all the way along. And even when the new chair came on board, she said, I really want you to go back to school so I can hire you. And I said, well, Isaac said to you, I go, don't want to. I'm past my school going days. What I
that's
mean.
right. If you tell him, if you put it in writing that you will hire me, I would ask, and if you pay for it.
I wasn't even asking that. You know what I mean? But I feel sometimes like it's a lot of games.
Yeah, that's something I guess. Another thing, if you don't mind including the whole gaming or being played type of thing.
Oh, no, because I think most partial loads feel that way. It goes back to the email thing. You're there for one contract. That's all you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed 13, 14 weeks of employment at a time, right? I know there's the partial load registry, and like I said, I have a new sort of management now, so, and it's only been a couple years, so this might improve, it might not, I don't know. But I've seen it in the past where someone high up on the partial load scale who should be guaranteed work, one class on Monday morning at 7 a.m., one class on Wednesday at noon, and one class on Friday at 4 p.m. So they give them the worst possible schedule. So maybe you don't accept it, or maybe you don't, and they make it hard on you until you go somewhere else or don't come back.
That's right. Have you experienced that too?
Me? Not directly for me, because a lot of the courses I'm the only one who teaches them. So definitely colleagues, I've seen it happen, but not with this administration. Like I said, I want to give them a chance, not with this management team. But in the past, for sure, I've seen it many, many times.
And how would you describe the experience of seeing people basically being hired over you? And then when they are hired, if this has happened, right? If they have had new hires already, have they ever?
Like I said, I've never applied because since the last one, which was about 10 years ago, I didn't have any interest.
Oh yeah, no.
There's not been a position available to apply for since.
Yeah, because you don't qualify, basically.
There hasn't been one offered.
Well, they haven't offered.
No, they've been shrinking the department for 10 years.
Oh, I see. So you wanted to apply, but they were giving preference to those who had that degree already.
No, I've never had it. There's never been a position open. No, not in 10 years.
They haven't opened a position in 10 years.
No, and our enrollment over those 10 years has gone from about 60 students to about 300 students for the 3-year program. And they haven't hired a single person full-time.
Have you seen an increase in partial load people being hired?
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're constantly asking me, do you know anyone who can teach, anyone who we can hire? Do you know anyone who can teach this class? Yeah, partial load has tripled. We have, I think now in our department, I can count 1, 2, there's 4 full-time instructors, and there's I would say about 12 or 13 partial load, or part-time. So it's a pretty big ratio. I know the college is almost 80%, or maybe it's over that now.
And in the case of your department, how does it work to have that many partial loads on few full-times? In terms of satisfying that curriculum or the program or the industry needs, or would they say that we don't hire because we're fine doing this way, or the programs work better this way? What is the rationale?
The problem is there's no consistency, right? So we have some of our core subjects have a curriculum that doesn't change, right? So it has to be taught the same way to every student, no matter who's teaching it. And they're like the foundational courses in the first year specifically. And there's people teaching that. And I wrote I created that curriculum with another person. I shouldn't say created it. We redid it in a few years back. And there's partial load instructors I've never met before. I go to these meetings, I've never met them. Sometimes they're there one semester, then they're not there the next semester. I don't know. They're not teaching it properly because I have students that I get later on. They say, oh, this person taught me this way. I'm not blaming them, but there's no training for them coming in on what we're supposed to do. There's no supervision of what they're supposed to be teaching. So there's a lack of consistency in there. So I personally believe having that higher percentage of partial load instructors with the turnover that you get, I believe it makes the education not as good. I don't think the quality is there because you don't have the consistency of back when I started there, it was about, I would say, 6 full-time employees and 4 partial loads, something like that. And there was a constant touching base all the time, making sure that the partial loads were teaching the same thing consistently along with everyone else. And then our partial load instructors stayed the same for a long time. We all stayed. So we had like same sort of 4 partial load instructors for 6, 7, 8 years. So there was a consistency there, but now there's no, I'm meeting new people every single semester. I get an email saying, you send this person the course cartridge. There was a partial load. They were desperate. They hired, I can't remember, I think it was last winter semester. And he was hired as a fill-in for someone who went off sick. And his curriculum was only 12 weeks of the 14. And he didn't even teach the last 2 weeks. And all he did was show them videos that were online. Like, who's you monitoring this?
Now that you mention online, do they have a online teaching or flex teaching in
Yeah.
your program? How are those things going in your view?
So I was the first person to teach a high flex course in our department. I was asked to do it as a guinea pig to give input back. And I think it's terrible. For one, the technology that they've set up to do this is not good at all. They have cameras in the rooms that are supposed to show the whiteboard that you cannot read on any screen whatsoever. The quality, even if you set the data stream at the highest quality, the students can't read it. So I said right from the beginning, well, all of our whiteboards should be digital so they show up on the screen. We can't be using Zoom and Teams because it doesn't integrate with this. And I'd find the student engagement, especially if it's pure online, is so low. And in the high flex, most students, this is coming out of COVID especially, most students would prefer to stay home. So I'd have 30 students for a high flex class, 3 in class, and 27 out of online. So I don't think the technology they've implemented to do it is well thought out. Because of that, I think the student engagement is very low.
How about if I were to tell you, Robert, if you make them more engaging, then Alexing, is you that have to make it create something. What will be your response to that?
But we do anyway, because I think most people who are in teaching, I have always said, if you give a test and it comes back with a 60 average, well, it's probably your fault. You know what I mean? You've missed something in the you didn't get your point across. So we always work with what we have in order to get our point across. But for the high flex stuff, I would always make additional high definition videos to put up on Blackboard or on a private YouTube channel so they could actually see what was happening on the whiteboard, see what's happening on the computer screen, because the quality of the broadcast that they're getting at home is very difficult for them to see.
That adds extra work, though.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And I hate working for free, but I've also made a commitment to the students to teach them this stuff, right? So I'm going to make sure that they get taught it, even if it is a bit of extra work, even though I don't like doing it.
Do you think administrators, that good or that committed teacher would try to do a good job regardless and have to suck it up type of thing?
No. As again, partial load, I'm sure you probably get some kind of email at the beginning of the semester from your chair or program coordinator or whatever saying that we're going to come and monitor your class and make sure you're using the right technology and all this kind of stuff. I've been doing this for over 15 years. I've never once had someone check anything I've been teaching ever. Not once. No other, zero quality control. But they tell me they're going to come in. I would welcome it. I would love to have someone come in and give me a suggestion. Hey, have you ever tried doing this or tried using this software? I learned about Mentometer, the little quiz software that you can use to break up a class and do a little knowledge check thing. I learned that from a colleague. No one ever taught me that, right? So how am I supposed to be up to date on all the latest tools, right? Sure, they have some professional development, webinars and things like that, but for partial load and working several jobs, you're not going to have time to do that.
I see.
Right? That's always been one of the major complaints is, especially since moved to campus, we used to be a Jane campus, which is really small. So everyone saw each other all the time. Since moving to campus, there's zero quality control. We have simple safety rules that in the machine shop, the bags you can't put your knapsacks in a certain area. I walk by there every day and that rule's being broken. And it's a legitimate safety concern. And I've said to the chair and I've said to the program coordinator, I said, you have to check in on stuff. You have to just drop in and make sure that the safety rules are being followed. And they don't. I don't know why.
So there's a little lip service then.
There's a lot of lip service.
To me, sometimes I do feel that they take advantage of my commitment, but they also want to monitor. So serve. They know that I care to know I'm going to do that extra work and with the extra time to try to make it work. And but at the same time, even with that, I still feel that they're telling me that it's my fault type of thing ultimately, and that they're going to check her, that they're going to help me to do better so that the course could be better. It's as if the assumption is
Have you ever had someone monitor your class?
No. What? Once, when I taught, the very first term when I taught in January 2016. But after that, no, but I'm not even sure if it will be effective because I don't trust that they would come to really try to get positive feedback. But just rather have a little check saying, I came to see, it's okay, it's fine, you're sort of doing a fine job, keep doing it, good. Otherwise, we're gonna need to add someone else who doesn't know this stuff. But in your case, nobody has ever.
No, and even I mentioned it to the chair, but previous chair and this chair, I said, I get this email every single semester. No one's ever come to check on me. And they both said, well, we know that you're a good teacher, so we don't have to come and check on you. And I said, well, how do you, no one's ever checked on me. How do you know I'm a good teacher? Because I've been here a long time. You don't know that. I can be terrible. Oh.
I see.
Hey, same thing with this. I used to really encourage the students with the feedback surveys they get to do every semester. This is your chance to tell the college where you think they actually look at them. And I always felt with those surveys, I've always done well on them. But I've always felt with those surveys, if you get a high rating on them, they don't care. But if you had a low rating, I think they would care. You know what I mean?
I see.
I'd say it's sort of similar to what you're saying.
I see. So there's a little manipulation of I'm playing games, basically, playing games. You also find it when they appeal to a statistic, something like students' iFlex. So it's important to offer iFlex. It's like, well, if you tell toddlers it's the lane with scissors, they might say yes. Why they like it? It's important, but how do you find it as a partial load, being able to communicate and give your input, your insights based on your experience, but at the same time, being labeled as a troublemaker or being kicked out because of being perceived? Have you ever got an experience like that, dude?
So I am the troublemaker because I have my own business, right? If they didn't hire me back financially, it wouldn't really affect me. If I'm in a unique position. So I've always been very outspoken. And I think because of that and because they know I don't need them, that I've almost gotten more respect from in a weird way.
I see.
You know what I mean? But I'm in a unique position, right? If I don't get a contract next semester, I'm still going to make my mortgage payment. You know what I mean? I still have basically, when I go to teach, it takes time away from my shop. So I make less money teaching than I do running my business. So
I see.
I'm in a unique position in that sense, so I've never had any fear about it.
Have you seen other partial loads who are not in the same situation as you and afraid to talk?
I've seen a lot of partial loads that won't say a word because for that exact reason, they're afraid to speak up because they need the job, right? I've seen, not in our department, but a relative of a full-time employee was a partial load, and the full-time employee spoke up, and his family member didn't get a contract again. So that's the only thing I've seen directly. But I definitely know partial load colleagues who have told me directly, it's like, I'm glad you said that, but I'm not going to say that kind of thing.
I see. Well, thank you so much. If you want to mention something else, you're free with any closing remarks about how it feels in your experience to be at Seneca as a partial load.
I said this before, and I know this came off negative, but the teaching experience, the overall experience being there, I wouldn't go back if I didn't like it. So genuinely, I do enjoy the teaching. I do enjoy my colleagues. I even enjoy the campus. But I do feel that the college itself is working against us, not with us.
I see. Well, thank you, Steve, for chatting. I hope it was a good conversation. You had a chance to share some of the stuff that are important for you. And definitely, I think this will be helpful because me as a partial load too, I sometimes don't hear from others. especially after the pandemic. So I'm looking forward to hear more voices from partial load people.
I would imagine you're going to hear a lot of the same sentiments. You feel the same way. I said some stuff, I can see you nodding. You say some stuff, and you see me nodding, right? I think it's pretty
Yeah.
common.
Anyway, thank you so much.
All right, have a good weekend.
You too.
Your story can make a difference. Share your experiences to advocate for respect and fair conditions for all partial load faculty. Learn how to share your story. Read more in the caption below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the work we do together. Follow us on social media for updates and to stay connected with OPSEU Local 560.